How are you guys feeling down there? Man, I've been waiting all week for this evening. I'm so excited to play for you guys. I hope you're all having a good time so far.
All right, can you hear me now? Yeah, should be better. How does it sound? There we go. Yeah, I did some change in settings. By the way, I'm going to be, shall we say, relatively optimistic that today, okay, fingers crossed, we shouldn't have many fuck ups. I'm optimistic. We'll see. We'll see if that works out. Boomer moment, please. That was the settings. Mm-hmm. Yep. Still on Wi-Fi? Nope. Now I'm I use one of those power link adapters. Shut up, Brad. My social security number is 42069 4200. How about that? Oh, MP Tosca, don't say that. Don't fucking say that. So, everybody, can we start off with some flaming dumpsters for my dumbass? I sold my SI puts yesterday for about somewhere between 10 to 15%. All right? 10 to 15%. I sold my Silvergate puts. All right? I had $60 puts. Their price is $55. I bought those puts again yesterday. The price was over $70. Yep. So dumpsters in chat for my dumbass. Did anybody play it though? Did anybody else play it? Were you smarter than me? Come on. Oh, yeah. It's okay. It's okay. You sold mine for 200%. Everyone, can we please give Lawbad some Farmer Jims? Yep, so I'll get the dumpsters, Farmer Jim's one. Listen, 10 to 15%, I'll take it. I'm okay. What happened is they disappointed on earnings, which was kind of as expected. That was the thesis behind it. It's like, okay, a lot of exposure to crypto. Let's step back for a second. Guys, let's chat. What's been the lessons of earnings so far that we can take to the broader macro environment? To me, coming out of it, financial earnings were strong. Here's why. The banks are choosy. The banks are choosy as fuck. The banks have the ability to pick and choose who they're loaning money to. If you saw any information on Bank of America and their FICO credit scores across segments, they're clearly choosing the best, which means we are seeing, shall we say, the less credit-worthy elements of the market going to alternative financing. Okay? Put it this way. If you think we're faced with 2008, then I'm going to sit there and tell you, it's not going to be the financial institutions to look at. It's going to be the companies like Affirm, Upstart, companies like Silvergate, companies like Ally. All right? It's going to be these alternative financial institutions that hold some of the, shall we say, less valuable credit assets, because the banks probably have learned their lesson from 2008. When the banks fuck up, it'll be for entirely new reasons. They're not going to replay 2008. They're going to fuck up in new and exciting ways. All right? That was my logic. And sure enough, Silvergate underperformed, which is why I have puts in Ally right now. All right? Ally's not a bank in the traditional sense. Ally has a lot of exposure to automotive loans. And automotive loans, to me, are a future explosion waiting to happen. All right? People bought cars at record high prices during boom times. They probably locked in, I'm assuming, fixed rate loans because credit was cheap. Now what? Do you guys catch the Manheim Index? Manheim Index has now started showing a year-over-year decline in the price of used cars. Badly. Worst on record I saw. So let me pull it up. Here we go. Here's the post. Implied used cars contribution based on underlying commodity prices. So the Manheim used vehicle year over year versus CPI, used cars and trucks. This is the important part. The CPI contribution for used cars, what we've got coming up is a pretty big decline. Hey, 360 Bizzle, how you doing, my friend? Jordy Bono, we're a bit overdue for some Nikola type fraud. Yeah. Subspontaneous, super good question. I don't know. How long before we see something comparable to pre-COVID costs on cars? I don't know, but everything else is round tripped. I mean, look at the CPI contribution for used cars. Look at this chart. Every other asset we've seen that's gone through the COVID period and gone skyrocketed, all of them have generally speaking come down. Now we're waiting on housing, and we know housing is going to lag. We know housing's going to lag. Now we're getting used vehicles coming in cold as fuck. Mark my words, the automotive sector will bullwhip themselves, and they always do. They always do. So for anybody thinking the next CPI print's going to be cold, here's the question you have to ask. Does a potential fall in medical services and used cars, plus new cars, by the way, which may start showing some declines, will it outweigh the contributions for energy and housing? Housing we know is hot. Energy is a wild card still. Stunt Burrito, Capital One, that's COF, has a lot of car loan exposure, if you remember correctly. You are correct. I will probably never in my life play against Capital One, and it's for a very personal reason. I know a lot of people who went on in my past life from different analytics teams, from like side analytics teams, who went to Capital One. Capital One hired like the smartest people I knew. Yeah. So that's one thing I would keep really carefully in mind. Like, yeah, I'm not going to play against them just because it's a very personal reason. But yeah, they absolutely have a lot of automotive exposure. Capital One is known for being a very analytical culture. Now, maybe it overwhelms them. I'm going to assume they have smart enough people to handle it. Black Raven asks, am I playing Apple? At some point, I want to. People are so negative on Apple. I want Apple to fall. I want to play Apple for earnings calls. Yep. Garfo makes a really interesting point. Let's go back to it. Goldman Sachs, EPS down 44% from Q3 last year and saying next year looks grim. Why are people saying this is fine and Shrek hawking? Expectations. Everyone knew the story behind Goldman Sachs. It's the number one company with exposure to investment banking. Last year, you had all the SPACs, you had a lot of IPOs, you had a lot of bond issuances, a lot of capital raises. This year, it's like the worst year ever on investment banking. No one's surprised by it. Besides which, let's take a look at Goldman Sachs EPS over time. It's a good exercise. This one's going to show the chart. I want to see quarterly, if possible. Y chart show it? Yeah, it does. Yep. This is a good illustration, okay? And I want to make sure you guys see this is not just a Goldman Sachs thing. This is an in general thing. Look at these numbers, okay? So back in 2020, okay, their first quarter, $3.11. Second quarter, 53 cents. Next quarter, just under $9, then $12. What I want to showcase to you guys is the numbers for 2021 are out fucking rageous. All right? $18, $15, $15, $11. But you go pre-COVID, they're at $5 a share. This raises that question again. We're going to see some deceleration from, say, last year, because last year was a fucking wild year. It's an outlier year. If you hold Goldman Sachs to the standard of pre-COVID, they're beating expectations. They're doing it better. Now, here's the thing. Investment banking's not going to stay down. Investment banking's not going to stay down. Lawbad, by the way, calls out Visa as the play. I think American Express as well. American Express has a lot of travel exposure. How do they not do well? I agree, though. Yeah, Garfo. Yeah, it's base effects. And you're going to see that. Garfo, but with bases like that, SPY can't stay at 250 per year and say multiples. I agree. I think we are going to see SPY earnings come down. And we've already seen, by the way, we've had some of the biggest EPS cuts for 2023 already. We have. But remember this. In 2019, the SPY put up $160 in EPS. The most bearish cases I've heard is 2023 at, say, $200. That's a 25% increase. That's significant. That is significant, considering where's the SPY at compared to right at pre-COVID. All right. Pre-COVID was we were close to 320, okay? So basically we ended the year of 2019 right around 320. All right? Right around, say, 320. All right, cool. We're at 371. We're earning for next year, set to earn, the most bearish case I've seen is 25% higher. We're not 25% higher on the SPY index. $190? You have 190? I have not seen 190 anywhere. The most bearish example I've seen is 200. With 3 years, no one thinks we have 3 years of 5 to 10, 8% inflation either. No one thinks that. I mean, shit, what was it? 5-year break-evens on inflation were like 2.8% as of last week. And that was a negative print, by the way, on UMichigan survey. Which, by the way, we think is flawed anyway. Slay J points out this year is an outlier too. Yeah, we're just in a time frame of outliers. I think that's the best way to describe it. Whew. We're like 10% over pre-COVID high. Okay, got it. So Jordy says we're 10% over pre-COVID high, and earnings in the most bearish case I've seen is 25% higher than pre-COVID. So like, that's why when people say they think the market's like super expensive, I'm like, really? I can make an alternative case. I love Qualcomm. No, Garfo, that's an interesting argument. If you take 190, so in 2019 dollars, and add the inflation, what's the new number? Probably around 240. Keep in mind, you don't just add inflation to EPS estimates. That's one thing I've seen. Like, I've seen a lot of people on FinTwit talk about, quote, real earnings. I wouldn't do that. And here's why. It actually comes down more to psychology and actually more down to microeconomics and decision making. Inflation impacts what people spend money on. Like, put it this way. If it wasn't for inflation, would you apply healthcare? Not really. Prometheum, the market was pretty expensive pre-COVID. True. And rates are way higher. That I agree. And yet they're still earning. On the earning side, it's better. I can understand the idea. You're going to discount those future cash flows, but we also have some really powerful companies. There's also a separate really interesting take, which is, it's kind of that Tina argument. Throw aside bonds. There is an alternative, by the way, and it's called bonds. We know that. That's where the rates come into play. Back out the rates for a second and say, where are you going to invest your money? In the European market or the US market? That's what I thought. Weird, huh? See now, dude, what's my take on the UK? Nothing's changed. I've been shitting on them for a while. It's not mine. Looks like Apple has read the 20-day moving average. Am I waiting for a move to one side? No, I'm waiting until after Tesla reports. I'm expecting fraud central tomorrow. Invest in the Swedish market. Ballsy, kind of like it. I do like Rad's comment. FinTwit is determined to have a global collapse, and if it won't happen in reality, they'll convince everyone it did online. Here's the fucked up thing. What was the impact of COVID on our psychology? Going through a global pandemic. By the way, I've said this. If COVID had happened back in 1918, it would have killed a lot more people than H1N1. Yeah. Prometheum, please share the link. I'd love it. Canadians are going to bail out Credit Suisse. Sweden might be about to do a UK. Chill for a while. I like them. Rad the Reptile. When was the last time a disease killed 1 million people in the U.S.? I assume you're talking about, and everyone brushed it off. I don't know. I don't think people brushed it off. I mean, I think there's some like repressed pain amongst society. I mean, come on. Did anyone's family not get impacted? Mine did. Does Sweden really matter? If you're in Sweden, it does. Yeah, UK is fucked though. UK, plain and simple, is fucked. Like, they shouldn't have jumped. Brexit was a mistake. Liz Truss, I saw an interesting point that said she buried the Queen, the Pound, and the Tory party. And that's fucking savagery I appreciate. Yeah. Take the UK out of the EU, and now you're talking about a country of what? 60 million people with no significant tech base, no significant source of natural resources. At least when we talk about like Norway, we've got gas. All right, we talk about the Middle East, we talk about gas. With the UK, what the fuck do they have, huh? Entitlement. Yeah. Our Swedish pensions levered 10 to 1 in meme stocks. I love it. But they have objections to the Activision Microsoft acquisition. I wish people would just sit there and say, your country is 60 million people. We don't ask other smaller countries that quite frankly are bigger in terms of at least like population size. Maybe not economy, but give it time. That'll change. Like at a certain point, it's like, England, shut the fuck up. You kind of lost a lot of your ability to veto things when you left the EU. That's what I'd say. Did you have charming accents? And by the way, yeah, that's true. And by the way, guys, I got a chance for my prior employer. I did 2 business trips to England, and actually, I fucking loved it. Like, if I could retire in the English countryside, and they had heat, I would totally do it. Totally. But yeah. Oh, guys, today is going to be special. I'll wait till more people. The theme of today is we're shitting on Intel all fucking day long. Anybody in here who's an Intel fan, an Intel fanboy, I got bad news for you. You in the wrong channel fucking today. We are shitting on you. You saw the Brit Conservative Party, the Tories, wanted Boris Johnson back. If you truly love something and you set it free and it returns, that means the love is 2 ways. QC Emperor, what is that? Bobby shitting on Intel? We'll talk about it. Shitting on Intel? Why not, right? Nah, specifically there was news that came out in regards to Mobileye. And Stacy Raskin, that Chad himself from Bernstein, put out a really interesting research note, which was exactly what I thought. Rekka Shaman, so glad you got it at Intel back when it was 45. Yeah. It's not mine. Don't ruin the punchline. We're going to talk about that. I have thoughts. I have lots of thoughts. Yep, careful what you wish for. Agreed. By the way, long term, I'm cheering for Intel. I'm rooting for them. Today, though, I'm shitting on them. It's simple. Conservatism with a final nail in the coffin of the British Empire. I'm not sure I feel that strongly in that case. I'd sit there and say there's a way you can do, like, if you have conservative, if you want to do economic conservatism, All right, fine, but then you need to address the entitlement society, and more importantly, you need to address immigration. And jumping out of Brexit on the basis of like excluding more immigrants, stupid. Stupid decision. Prometheum. The main takeaway from the fund manager survey is they are super bearish. Shocker. 3 standard deviation underweight equities. More funds are underweight than the 2008-2009 peak. I think it was Paul Tudor Jones who made a point a few weeks back when he said, if you're wrong but in consensus, you're usually not going to lose your job. If you're wrong though and out of consensus, that's a killer in the money management sector, money management industry. So the idea is I think you're going to see them all stay bearish until there's some massive move. You're not going to see big institutional money make the first move. Herd mentality, yep. Torquay McNugget, you're curious how they're positioned now versus June. I assume they're even more bearish now. The Tories now have their scapegoat. The Tories need to acknowledge. First, I'm going to shit on Labour in a second. Yeah, I know my politics. Somewhat. If you look at the last leaders the Brits have had on the Tory party, you've got what? David Cameron, who may have been competent, but Jesus fucking Christ. Communication's not that guy's strong suit. Notice I'm not going to make any dick and pig's mouth jokes. I can. All right. Followed up with Boris Johnson, who's an interesting case study in what the fuck. And now you got Liz Truss. And it's like, what was she thinking? How the fuck do you actually advocate for a tax cut and watch the market die? Has that ever happened? Ugh. Ugh. Stroll says, can't they be making the first move? I assume you're talking about mutual or big institutional funds by starting to accumulate. Yeah, I'm sure they can, but you're not likely to see this mass movement of them until really some big catalyst happens. At least that's how I interpret it. Steely hands. Labor can't find popular leaders. Corbyn was a disaster. 100% true. This is a problem, I think, in global politics when you look at like what's perceived as more conservative parties versus more liberal parties. There's an expression, some of you have heard this in the US, when they talk about Democrats and Republicans. They say Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. All right? And it tends to be a good almost rule of thumb for understanding popular movements of conservatism versus kind of liberalism or progressivism. And it definitely applies. Where Jeremy Corbyn was a terrible candidate. A terrible candidate. Very divisive. Ran a shit organization. And if you're going to be the leader of a country, I'm going to say something. This is going to hurt Bernie Sanders fans. Fuck your ideas. Honestly. I'll hire you if you're likable, but really, it's not your ideas that will make you a successful chief executive. And by the way, this applies to companies too. They can set a strategy, but for actual tactical ideas, nope. Nope. It's how you can actually like push through policy, how you get shit done. And being an ideologue does not help. It doesn't. Jeremy Corbyn had shit capabilities to build out organizations, and it showed. It showed. Red Reptile, the UK's biggest problem is too many people voted for Brexit without realizing the entire thing was a lie. Yeah, we got stupid people. And Bitaska, know that I'm not going to repeat that comment, but know that every fucking word of it, I agree, and it's a great example. It's a great example. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Cali Otter, let's get back to the market, my friends. Cali Otter, Nat Gas trying to leave behind dead bodies. Either way, I sold out of my boil. That was a fucking mistake. I sold out of boil. Woo, I had good timing too. I set a stop loss for $44.01 and I escaped. And I took still like a 12% loss over the weekend. So yeah. Not winning here. Rad, you think the people behind Brexit were just wanted a popular slogan were shocked when it passed? I agree. Supposedly, David Cameron has come out and said he never would have put it forth as a referendum if he had thought it would have actually gone through. He did it to basically dare people to kind of get them to shut the fuck up. Not going to talk about Trump. Yep, Cold Gang getting revenge. Yeah. By the way, UK Energy completely round tripped. It's back down to like that pre-spike price. Tommy Hayes, you still don't know what Brexit is? Yeah, basically it's the UK voting to leave the EU. The EU is a currency and economic union. So it basically means that all of a sudden now, for trade purposes, you have a different set of rules between the UK and the EU. So it basically overnight really crushed a lot of their capability to do imports and exports. And if you're an island of 60 million people, it's a big deal. My pleasure, my friend. Sly J, let's say Trump doesn't run. Who picks up the Republican bid? Right now, my money would be on Ron DeSantis from Florida. Outside chances are Nikki Haley from South Carolina, and the one I would actually like to see, Larry Hogan out of Maryland. Elon Musk. Elon Musk can't. He wasn't born in the U.S. But yeah, DeSantis. JB Ghost. Only here can you get both an explanation on semi-capex details and what the fuck the EU is. We try to keep it real, my friend. Rad Reptile, you think Hogan has no shot? He'll be the Kasich of that group. There's an outside chance. I can paint for you a scenario in which a Larry Hogan or a Baker from Massachusetts, DeWine, basically a moderate, can go through. And it specifically relies on both Trump and DeSantis being in the race. Basically, they split the crazy vote. If you say you have a 60% chance, or if you want to say 60% of the voting population for the Republican Party is going to be hardcore Trumpers, and 40% are going to be the anybody but Trumps, if you have a three-way, giggity, between Larry Hogan, Donald Trump, and Ron DeSantis, and go ahead and type that in Google, three-way, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, and Larry Hogan. Let's see if anything comes up. I think it's like Rule 34. If you have those three and you presume a 60-40 and they split it, you got 30-40. Larry Hogan would win. Family of Maryland hates Hogan. They are Republican. Let's be honest. Are they Republican or are they Trumpers? Trump's not a Republican. He runs as a Republican. But as someone who understands, like, you know, actual, like, conservatism, it's different. McCain wasn't born in the U.S. Yeah, it's... He wasn't born in the... he was born, like, what, on a military base, which actually counted as U.S. U.S. land? Straight perfection. I got two words for you. Made in America. Oh. Yeah. At least he didn't, like, scream like, what's his face? Howard Dean. Prometheum. UK nat gas down 69% giggity. Nice. From the high and still 5 times 2019 prices. Yep. Yep, you guys know what I'm talking about. There's now a difference between conservatism and Republican. That's exactly correct. Oh, rad. Remember when being unable to spell potato was enough to lose a race? He's talking about Dan Quayle, vice president under George H.W. Bush. The guy who picked a fight with a fictional American sitcom character for being a single mother, and he got his ass kicked on it. Murphy Brown beat him up. Yep. Remember that well. Hey, me like you stream. Despite the strong dollar, which normally crushes emerging... True. It appears emerging markets are holding up quite resilient in the face of a powerful dollar and supply inflation shock. I was just thinking about how today I'm shocked at how they've held up. Yeah, I agree. I think it comes down to just how cheap those markets are in general. But I also think you may have to look like specifically at certain like emerging markets, not just because of your name. Like Korea is one that I would honestly like be really curious to take a look at. I'm very bullish innovation in general, and I'd be very curious to see how Korea fares kind of moving forward. The whole issue between Taiwan and China makes that kind of interesting. Mexico's the other spot I think is gonna be very positive. Jordy Bottom, who was the guy who didn't remember which agency he wanted to abolish? Rick Perry. Oh, Rick Perry, handsome devil, what an asshole. Atramed, long term, you are correct. The Korean fertility rate is tragic. They need more fucking immigration. If you are in East Asia, you need to be encouraging immigration. If they got invaded, could TSMC flee to Korea, or would it not be a destination? I mean, they could, but they wouldn't need to. They come to US, come to Europe. Hey, how you doing, my friend, Tinjenko? Raising Keens, yeah, after Sri Lanka, you thought we were going to see a huge wave of emerging markets falling down a similar path, but we kind of avoided it. Keep in mind, Sri Lanka was not just a strong dollar. Sri Lanka was fucked for all sorts of reasons. Put it this way. The difference when we talk about monetary policy versus fiscal policy, we have to appreciate they had some special fiscal policy behind them too. Language is such a strong barrier. You feel like you could be wrong. But that's why you can never live in another country. You only know English. I will tell you guys right now, as someone who's lived in another country, you will be shocked at how fast you will learn the language when you move to another country, and you fucking have to. You will be shocked. Merlnap, you missed it. What happened to SI Silvergate? They sucked. Their earnings sucked. That's the story. Yeah, it died. Chinese is so hard because of inflections matter. Yep. But if you get told, like, if you're ever to find yourself in China, I'll tell you the trick right now to learning Chinese. You gotta treat it, as crazy as it sounds, you gotta treat it like learning to sing a song. Because, like, the tones matter. Like, literally, the word ma, M-A, in English terms, has, like, 5 or 6 different meanings, depending on whether it's, like, ma, 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 ma. Like, all those are different things, which is fucking hilarious when you try speaking, because using English where we're like, really? Really? Like, that gives, like, 2 different meanings, same kind of thing. So if you learn to sing it, it works well. Mother or horse, yep, and I forget what the other ones are. But I actually knew mother and horse were 2 of them, so. Garfo says, trick to learning a language, get a native girlfriend and boyfriend. Also 100% true and recommended. Yep. Go Rabs. Could Elon Musk solve Korean fertility? Probably. Man. What puts do I have other than Ally and Tesla? I don't think I have any substantive puts aside from those 2. Yeah, those are the only. Yeah. This morning, I actually had an interesting play. It worked out pretty well. I'll show you. I played puts on ExxonMobil, and I'm going to be honest, I did it. This is like one of the better plays I've made. So I got puts, I got the $100 puts a little bit over here, and then I sold them roughly, probably around here. Yeah, like 99, 60, something like that. Didn't get the exact bottom, didn't care. So it was like a 50% gain. Yep, steely hands. I do have Tesla puts. I don't know if it's a smart call, honestly. What's my theory on Ally? Large automotive exposure. You guys know Ally's CFO just announced their departure. When your CFO leaves the day before earnings, it kind of gives you some feeling about how earnings is going to go, right? Can I read in Chinese at all? No. Fucking impossible. I would have had to spend a lot more time there. Yeah, very much cojones to short Tesla. My original plan, by the way, was to buy puts after their earnings. And it's a very specific reason why. Not only do they have bad news coming, Elon has to sell more than expected. Originally, I think the expectation was he needed about $5 billion more to cover his Twitter sale, and you know I believe that's going to happen. On the other hand, now with all the talk of the equity partners trying to get out of it, Elon has to cover that. He can't walk away. So now he's going to sell more stock, and I've heard estimates anywhere between 10 to 11.1 billion. So I have November 18th, $26 puts. My Tesla puts are also November 18th, so I'm pushing things out. I'm not doing like weeklies. By the way, Substacks, that was a first-time chat, so thank you for speaking up, my friend. Welcome to the party. Any feelings about Kanye and Parler? None that I specifically want to talk about. I have $150 puts for Tesla. I have aggressive puts, shall we say. Gamble. Yeah. Playing ExxonMobil puts this morning, though, shockingly worked. I wasn't going to hold it, though. Guys, I'm going to be honest. I see a lot of people getting very bullish right now. I'm not. Usually, y'all shit on me for being a perma bull. I get it. I don't know why we're going up right now. Nothing has fundamentally changed. Nothing has fundamentally changed since last week. If it's just positioning, then the positioning bump will wear off. Plus, I don't think... Put it this way. Let's look at the earnings calendar, my friends. End of last week, we had financials. Beginning of this week, we had financials. Believe it or not, I think that's going to be the best performing group of this quarter. Net interest income was fucking sexy. All right? Knowing that's the case, we are now going to be coming into a little bit more nuanced of earnings. Liquidator actually says, I mean, it's the positioning aspect. It's positioning kind of mechanics of the market. That's the bullish part. None of the fundamentals are more bullish this week than last week. Keep in mind, I thought last week was bullshit. I thought we should have been going up anyway. I think the market is fundamentally undervalued. That being said, there's a lot of room for differentiation. Some of these companies need to go down. Yeah. Netflix is an interesting one, by the way. Netflix is super interesting. They report earnings tonight. Gonna be dying to see. I mean, today is a kind of interesting earnings day. United, Jesus. Do all of the airlines beat? Because so far, I'm pretty sure they all have. Chipotle, I like. You will not see me play against. When is Chipotle's earnings? It's not this week, right? Are they next week? Next week is spicy for earnings, if they're next week especially. Stoop Kid, I think I'm 50% cash. Mainly because, a little bit less than 50%. Yeah, once Wall Street Bet said Netflix puts were free money, you knew to buy calls. Sometimes. Next week is Apple and Amazon, I know. I think next week's mega cap. But yeah, Netflix is going to have news about basically their subscription tier. If they release any news about how well the adoption has been for their pricing for advertising, it could be good. That could be good. Visas next week? Shit. Is Apple going to bomb? No, I don't think so. I think Apple is going to do very well. Keep in mind, they've been raising prices consistently in countries with shitty currencies compared to the US dollar. And we know they moved some of their orders from the basic iPhone to the new iPhone Pro. Not only that, Everybody keeps posting bearish shit about Apple. And every time that seems to happen, Apple shocks during earnings. I am actually going to be a little bit more bullish on Apple than probably the average person. Visa's next week as well. Wow. God, next week should be spicy. By the way, tomorrow morning is spicy. You have ASML up tomorrow morning. You have Procter & Gamble tomorrow morning. We talked about Ally, Abbott, and Baker Hughes. You also got NASDAQ, which is probably going to be the most boring beat in the world. See that, dude. Do I think iPhone sales are already priced in? Never. Apple doesn't do guidance. Lawbad, you've never heard me be bearish on Apple? No, and oftentimes it's mainly because through all the tracking I do on semiconductors and supplies, I have to get acutely aware of how Apple's doing. Plus, they're one of the most secretive companies on Earth. And meanwhile, everyone else is very quick to be bearish, so I tend to have to, like, study it. And that's why I'm always like, guys, I'm shitty on it. I'm bearish on Apple customers. They're a cult. But don't bet against a cult. Yeah, I saw the new iPad. Majority of Tory party members want trust to resign. Jesus. I know, Sug Max. He says Jay with the Tesla puts. What the fuck do I know, right? I'm crazy on that one, I know. Yep, Tesla's a cult. Tesla investors are cult. Apple users are cult. There are people who are Apple cultists who don't care about the stock at all. There's a difference. I'm yet to find someone, quite frankly, who's like a Tesla product cult who's also not a stockholder, which is weird. Hey, B-Hood. Silvergate was a good look, boss. I sold yesterday for 10 to 12% gain. They would have been like 300%, something like that. Yeah, dumpsters for my dumbass. Dupe kid. Apple has great margins, fan base willing to eat shit, and is making $1 billion per day. What's to be bearish about? Plus, they have a $90 billion stock buyback. They're actually using it, too. A lot of companies talk about, like, buybacks. They don't fucking use them. Apple uses theirs. And listen, isn't it Warren Buffett's biggest position? Yeah. Yep. Give me the dumpsters. It's okay. I deserve them. But yeah, tomorrow is particularly spicy. By the way, there is a shitty company reporting tomorrow, Aftermarket, which might be interesting. WD-40, a lot of shorts are surrounding this one. Apparently, like, this company has a lot of controversy behind it. I don't fully understand it. Buffett has a position in Ally? Shit. Ally's long term. That's my best. Banks, the big losers, can't buy back their own stock. They didn't last quarter. How is WD-40 its own company? It owns some other shit. Speaking of a cult, your friend who's invested in GME thinks that buying the stock is like Apple back in 2016. Ugh. Your friend is not very smart. Raising Keens. There's a shitty company reporting after close tomorrow. Yeah, we've already been talking about Tesla. Tesla's a lot of things. I'm going to shit on it for being overvalued. I'm going to shit on it for being cultists, etc. Tesla deserves some credit. We got to acknowledge this, guys. During the semiconductor shortage, the company, the automotive company with the least amount of production disruptions was Tesla, because they actually like re-engineered shit. At least he isn't your coworker. Tilray at 74. Damn. Keep in mind, I think on my 401k, I'm still holding AMD at like either 110 or 105. That's fine. It's a 401k. Years from now, I won't care. Yeah, AMD is one of the most undervalued, underappreciated companies right now. And I think more people should actually give Lisa Su shit if it wasn't for the fact that they have a pretty aggressive buyback. I think people are going to be stunned when they realize how many shares AMD bought back. Steely hands. I see that Foxconn said they hope to produce Teslas. I saw the Foxconn, what do they call it? So, like their demonstration vehicle. Foxconn wants to get into producing automobiles. Okay, basically, Foxconn wants to be the contract manufacturer. Period. All right. So what they end up doing is they've got this production model out so that they can give it to other companies to model, hey, this is what we could do, this is what it looks like. At the same time, like, this is why Google got into producing the Pixel, because they kept seeing other companies, Samsung, releasing their own versions of Android phones with their own versions of Android. So Google released a stock phone that had Android to basically, not necessarily to make a lot of money, all right, but to kind of showcase to both customers and to other partners, other manufacturers, this is what a stock Android phone could look like. Is Elon shitposting, or is he dangerously lit? I don't know. Jordy Botto, car factories are generally one story high, so they save on anti-suicide nuts. Connor Duffy, when did I get my Tesla position? Last week. I'm currently down 22%. Yeah. Stock Android is simple, just like Apple. Yeah. Steely Hands, apparently they do have an automotive contract. I forget the name of it. It's some small company. Elon's shitposting gives you life unless he... Yeah, shit talking about Ukraine. I know. AMD has bought back 13 million shares, or 0.8% of the float of the last 2 quarters. Meanwhile, then there's one of my favorites. Clack. I don't think this has been updated, but Clack bought back like 6% just in the last quarter alone. Hey, Mobile Horse, what are our plays this week? I mean, there's so many interesting earnings plays. One company I do not like on this is tomorrow after close, not just Tesla, IBM. IBM, there's a lot of questions about the sustainability of their revenue. They were playing a lot of tricks last quarter to showcase any kind of growth. Prometheum, Clack would have been a lot more appealing if those buybacks were dividends. Agreed. Yeah, Google has like a $90 billion buyback. Yeah. Tesla is expected to discuss semi-deliveries in the call. They're going to I mean, Elon's going to be on the call. He's already said he's going to be on the call. That usually is a warning sign. Something bad's going to be said. I still think he's going to try to pump and fraud the fuck out of it. The reason I have Tesla puts, my original idea was to buy puts basically on Thursday, hoping they get some lift. I wonder if he's going to get front run. Everyone knows he has to sell. Ambrose, do I think Qualcomm does well next earnings? Yes. Also, what industries are they in? So they have a lot. Obviously, I mean, Qualcomm is usually thought of a cell phone company first. They have a lot of exposure now to IoT, i.e. specifically like wearables, watches, what's it called? The new Meta, their new Oculus Rift system has 3 different Snapdragon chips in it per unit, which is insane. They also do the RF, the modems specifically for Apple phones, for the iPhones. Like the entire reason Apple was able to release a cell phone that basically talks to satellites, they're using a Qualcomm modem chip along with some of their own software. Three CPUs, yeah, Snapdragon. Technically, it's SoC. It's not a CPU. It includes a CPU, GPU, AI chip, etc. Hey, Here on Man Never Dies. I got for Ally, November 18th, $26 puts. The Foxconn auto deals of Fisker, nice. Meta is getting hammered a lot for the Horizon worlds being shit and not attracting, retaining anyone. Yes, it is. But in order to do that, they had to buy chips from Qualcomm to even make the hardware. So that's Facebook's problem. It's not Qualcomm's problem. But yeah, Qualcomm has a very long history of beating earnings. They have not guided down. They guided down last quarter, but they've not pre-released, which makes me pretty bullish. In fact, when is their earnings? I'm willing to bet it might be next week. They tend to release when mega caps report. No, 11-2. Ooh, I didn't realize this. Deutsche Bank maintained buy on Qualcomm, lowers the price target to $160. Cool. Yeah, Rab. This stream is real smooth. I have an answer to that. I went out and bought PowerLink adapters last night, turned off my Wi-Fi on my computer. Now I'm, quote, hardwired in. And I'm noticing already, I've been tracking the entire time, my CPU usage is really far down. So I think, and I notice my speed's the same. So I'm happy. Yes. No Starlink, fuck off. No one's seen Walter Bloomberg. I assume that, like, someone got him. Yeah, don't jinx it. I know. But yeah. See, no, dude, I did buy puts this morning, and my thesis is they have a lot of exposure to automotive loans. I'm willing to bet delinquencies are going to go up there first. And if that happens, they'll have to set aside, what's it called? They'll have to set aside reserves for credit losses. Hershey is being babysat by Jay's Vietnamese neighbors. Actually, my neighbors are from Venezuela. So one thing I'd be very cautious about, guys, in terms of playing Ally, this is my one concern with it. Ally is not expensive. All right. You don't measure banks to PE. You usually measure them to price to book. Their price to book is 0.8. This is not an expensive company. They also have a dividend. So if you are playing against this company, I mean, you got to understand, this is not a safe play. I'm still doing it, but also I'm not doing it large. Yeah, Comcast reports next week. Let's get them bitches. See how the SPY's doing. My SPY calls are up 11%. They could do better. Is Pornhub a noted company? I'm not doing Ally puts large. It's a small position. Ichivado, just be careful with the power link adapters. Depending on your house electrical, they can burn out real fast. If your computer was acting like you just said, it was more likely your motherboard Wi-Fi adapter was the action. I don't know about that. I think it was just holding stability. Either way. Jeep, first time chat. I took calls off the bounce for SPY. Yes. Yes. I mean, I'll tell you right now why. Where's the 10-year? Go to the 5-minute. So these are prices. Prices are inverse to yield. When I saw the bounce here, that was a good. That was kind of a give. That was a kind of a give. A dead giveaway that we could potentially see it, and you can see the same thing also on the dollar. Actually, let me pull up one separately. Your inputs at open. Well played, Jeep. There was a time to play puts that actually would have worked out really well. I played oil puts this morning. I played ExxonMobil puts. Yeah, if you if you look at the dollar, the Dixie, it's been going up and down all day. Three from 160. Well played, my friend. Well played. Yep, I'm just playing small. Shorting the market seems very, very popular on VTards right now. Yeah, it does. Which, hey, it's fine. I wish we could get beyond, and you guys have heard me say it so many times, I wish we could get beyond treating the market like one monolith. There's so much high quality, just like there's so much shit. Like, in a perfect world, they don't move together. People stop playing the indices. Bet you semis bounce pretty hard now. Jeeple, well played, my friend. You take trade signals. Be cautious about that. I'll warn you right now, this is your first time here, just in case. This is not the place to go to follow us. Put it that way, because we'll fuck up a lot, okay? I'm a terrible trader. I'm more about news and humor. How about that? Instead, you'll see there's a lot of very intelligent people here. We tend to talk about narratives. Basically, we'll tell you why something could happen. We usually don't tell you what does happen. I will point out, though, there's some pretty smart people in here. We tend to do pretty well at times. So, yeah. Days like the onion, yeah. Why do I think semis bounce here? Because everything else has. Shut up, all tea leaves. Yeah, basically because everything else has. So if you check the SMH, debating more air. Yeah, I don't blame you on that one. How soon before we think Elon sells shares? Well, he can't sell before earnings. So I think his window opens up what? The 20th? And he's got like 8 days to sell like somewhere between 5 to like 13 billion. Yeah, that's going to creep up on him. Semis are down hard today. Not really. That's the funny thing. There's actually a little bit of differentiation in semis, which we'll talk about. Yeah, air is like the most swing tradable. I don't know if you guys caught it. Air was called out on CNBC this morning. I've never seen that stock mentioned. All right. Never. He can't short. By the way, Jordy, he couldn't short his own company, at least not right now. As a officer, he's in blackout period. It means he can't sell or buy or initiate positions. How do I get all these news? Weapon grades autism, my friend. Weapons grade autism. You guys pay me essentially to keep my eye on the market as much as possible. That's my full-time job. Webmaster, when China finally retaliates on semis, then you buy the news. By the way, if they're going to retaliate, I still think they're not going to... I've seen a lot of people say like, oh, well, China's not going to take this line down, which, by the way, I kind of agree. But then when people turn around and say, watch them retaliate against Tesla or watch them retaliate against Apple, no. That will hurt themselves. You got to understand. If they retaliate against Apple or Tesla, that's going to tell every company that has manufacturing in China, get the fuck out now. And that's going to hurt Chinese unemployment. Instead, China will retaliate. My bet is against U.S. farm and agricultural products. Pork, soybeans, etc. That's where I think they would fuck with the U.S. So I would look for retaliation there. Oh, Jeep, thank you very much for the sub. And Clark Kent, thank you very much for the sub. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. Yeah, Steely Hands. Rees are the other one. Re stands for rare earth elements. Ironically, not necessarily rare. But yeah. And Butaska, you're afraid of trading Air. It feels like one of these days it's going to rock. That's my strategy. Listen, Air is one of my favorite companies. I own shares of Air in my 401k, and I don't fucking care. I'm just going to hold for years. Air is smart. They're a great company. They've all, like, we've talked, it's just a good company. I don't care about booking near-term profits. I'm just going to hold them for years. It's $18, incredible. Well, yeah. Mark my words, within a few years, every single EV, there will be components from that car that went through Air tools. Oh, Jeep, I don't do TA. I'm terrible at TA. Terrible. Basically, overnight, the question really becomes what happens to the currency? Do you see the Bank of China intervening? Japan intervening? What happens to the euro? Honestly, I think currency swings right now. I think the Forex market's leading the market itself, the equities market. Who builds most EVs? Tesla. You're right, though. Wednesday is Beige Book Day. Ooh, what we got there? Okay. Short the North American gourd industry. Oh, fuckers. Why are you guys like this? I don't usually do TA, but when I do, it's on the VIX. I love it. Twitch streams, covered calls, worth it? Are you talking about Air? Because we meme on people who do that. Every time we meme on people. Steely Hands, I did see that. I did see that. The Bank of Japan, the financial minister refused to comment if they're currently doing stealth interventions. Are you intervening? Maybe. Yeah, I saw that. We're showing off for Jeep, letting them know what they're in for if they stick around. Yep. Altilis, thank you for this, by the way. Yeah, Beige Book is like supplemental economic data. So each Federal Reserve Bank gathers anecdotal information on current economic conditions in its district through reports from bank and branch directors and interviews with key business contacts, economists, market. It's a data dump. It's actually pretty cool if you're a nerd like me. All tea leaves. Does anyone know why China pushed back its economic data announcement? Ooh, I have a guess. It's not good. And they're in the midst of having like their big central party meeting. No bad news. No bad news allowed. That's why I assume. It's very much in line. Mm-hmm. The interesting ticker for me tomorrow morning is ASML. Look at this. What do you guys think? This is Europe's largest tech stock. So every problem we associate with Europe combined with tech, you then have to combine with the fact that this is a fucking monopoly. This is literally a monopoly. All right? Not only that, there's no competitor as of now on the horizon. All right? Lithography tools right now, if you're building out a fab, you have 3 current companies you can call. There's technically a 4th one that's popping up in China, which is like decades behind at this point, okay? Lithography is one of the toughest tools to actually produce, okay? You are talking about the system that etches the pattern that you then get to use like chemicals and plasma to remove layer by layer, all right? It's the most important step in creating semiconductors. It's the most expensive step to create semiconductors, all right? You have Canon and Nikon, both in Japan, and then you have ASML in Europe. ASML is the only one that does EUV lithography, extreme ultraviolet light. It's an absolute fucking monopoly. Absolute monopoly. Not only that, previously, both Canon and Nikon were talking about going into EUV. They've both announced like 5 years ago, they shelved the program. It was too expensive for them to try. Yeah, ASML is currently trading at a forward PE right now of 19. They have $31 billion worth of bookings, not even booked as revenue yet. Ronap, What about Elonix E-beam lithography? I assume the problem with E-beam lithography will always come down to speed. If you have to draw 20 billion some odd transistors per chip, and a wafer is going to contain, say, 180 different chips, how fast is that going to be compared to lithography, where you basically burn it through? My understanding is that's what holds back E-beams. It's the idea that you'd basically be spending days per wafer on E-beam compared to like minutes lithography. Show Twitter, please. Sure. Is there something to catch up on? Whoa! That's kind of cool. What the fuck just happened? Webmaster, you heard Russia was working on X-ray lithography. Isn't EUV technically X-ray? I thought from the wavelength standpoint, it actually kind of counted as an X-ray. I don't know. Yeah, MP Task is a long-term investor, bag holder. You have 568 cost basis on ASML. Oh, one day you'll be fine. One day you'll be fine. The problem with ASML is this. They've gotten hammered. Twitter locked employee stock. They are anticipating the deal going through. Yep. I saw Chancellery Daily make a good point yesterday. There's been no new motions out of Twitter, meaning they assume it's going to go through. Big Hairy Dingo, you don't have two numbers mixed up there, right? There we go. 5420, keep the meme alive, my friend. Keep the meme alive. Yeah, now the spy's fucking. So yeah, ASML is tomorrow morning. The question is this, guys. Has this stock been de-risked? Has it? This is a tough one. All right. In China, they sell not EUV. Remember, EUV is banned in China. They can't sell it. All right. That business is secure. They have a services business and they have a lower line of lithography tools. China uses those tools. They absolutely use their services. Now, here's the thing. This stock is already down, oh my God, almost about 20% basically in the last week and a half. I don't know if this is fair for what they're going to potentially lose in China business. Not only that, I'll go one step further. Remember, they have 30 plus billion dollars in backlog. Pretend for a second the China numbers immediately goes down by, say, $1 billion. This wasn't shit they were going to be launching this quarter anyway. All right? They're just going to take the sales they lose in China and start delivering early for other customers. So ASML is an interesting one, depending on how the end of the day looks. I'm tempted to just play a little bit of a flyer of a call. By the way, I don't think I've ever made money on ASML. I think I've played it a few times, very small each time, and I think I've lost money every fucking time. One of these days, though, it'll work. Give me a second to get a drink. And first of all, let me run us to a quick break. I just want to point out, the connection seems to have worked out pretty well, which means I may actually make advertising money today. Woohoo! I'm not a rich man, so it helps. And when I get back, we're going to shit on Intel. Apparently, I recently ran an ad. So let me put it to spy, and I will be right back with a drink. Plus use the restroom. All right. It's time. First of all, Setsua, you heard me talk about ape yesterday, so you bought some? Oh, fuck. Well played, my friend. Well played, my simian friend. Anyway, guys, we're about to shit on Intel. Buckle up. All right. And first of all, to start with this, I need to go and tell a story involving ASML. All right. Let's look at this stock and let's go all the way back. We are talking to 2017. All right. In 2017, Intel sold their position in ASML and used the proceeds to spend $15 billion. $15 billion investment in an Israeli company that would go on to be known as Mobileye. All right. So 2017, back when ASML, roughly $100 a share, Intel sold. Bought $15 billion worth of what became Mobileye. Now, fast forward to today. There's an announcement that Intel, which is looking to now spin off Mobileye. Few months ago, the rumored number, $50 billion valuation. Today, at least as of last night, the rumors are Intel is seeking $16 billion. All right? $16 billion. 1-6. So, Intel sold, say, $15 billion worth of ASML to buy $15 billion worth of Mobileye, which they're now going to sell for $16 billion. Had they just held ASML, even with how much ASML is down, you're talking $45 billion. Oh, Garfo, hold that thought, my friend. I have an answer. All right. That's the story of Intel. Now, this begs the question. Oh, this is a fucking brutal chart. Yeah, it is. Only going to get worse, too. Why would Intel sell now? Should just be on your end. Why would Intel sell now? This is the interesting question. So there's two interesting perspectives, okay? And this is why Stacy Raskin, semiconductor senior analyst who tracks semiconductor sector, all right, he put out a note which shits on Intel today, even more, and raises two questions. Both of them are terrible for Intel. Number one, Go Rebs is correct, dividend. The idea that Intel needs cash. They're going to get what, like 13.5, or I think 3.5 actually, billion dollars out of this. Can I link Stacy's note? No, I have it in TD Ameritrade. If someone has Bernstein's coverage, by all means. All right. So the first point that he makes is the idea that what Intel is doing right now is because, quite frankly, they need the capital to secure that dividend. Number two, and this is even worse, is they fear even more degradation of the Mobileye business. Now, by the way, I actually like Mobileye. And if Mobileye comes out at $16 billion, this will probably be one of the more successful IPOs in the last 2 years. It really will be. Mobileye is a pure play on automobiles. Now, you know what's really fucked up? Mobileye doesn't use Intel chips. And by Intel chips, I mean x86 architecture. Nope. Mobileye uses ARM architecture. Yeah. Intel's one shining beacon in their most recent earnings report was growth in automotive via Mobileye. Mobileye doesn't use x86 chips. Raising Keens, this is an important point. If you didn't IPO your automated driving EV stuff last year during SPAC Mania, you deserve all the shit. 100% agree. They should have dumped it off on SoftBank. SoftBank would have paid a premium for it. They should have dumped it last year when there was a market, when there was an appetite. Global Foundries was smart. They did the same thing. The difference is Global Foundries is absolutely flourishing Global Foundries is a good business now. And remember, I shat on them right before they came out, and they have proven me very wrong, and I am perfectly happy with that. Global Foundries made some really cool strategic moves, which was smart. Mobileye will probably be smart too once they get away from Intel. But here's where this leaves Intel now. We know Intel needs capital, even with the government providing them some of that cheddar. The problem is Intel can't buy back shares. All right. Basically, when they accepted CHIPS Act money, they lost the ability fundamentally to buy back shares. Plus, they don't have the cash. They don't have the cash. They're building out fabs in Ohio, building out fabs in Arizona. They have a new European fab they've announced. They're doing so many upgrades at their existing facilities. And now they're prepaying TSMC to manufacture their dies for their upcoming chips. They need cash. Their dividend would have been cut if they didn't do that Brookfield asset management deal, which they basically sold off the rights to half of their Arizona fab complex. Wow. Fucking hell. I know there's a lot of value investors who look at Intel. Intel's forward PE, and I don't believe this number, by the way, is still higher than Qualcomm. Qualcomm's in a much better shape. Sagano, you heard a rumor that Intel was trimming its sales teams. Things are not looking good. I actually think Intel is going to shit the bed on earnings again, even more than expected. I think Intel is going to show a lot of weakness in data center. And by the way, if you're an AMD fan, you hate to hear that specifically because it's just going to push AMD down, even though I think it's an Intel problem. It's not an AMD problem. Someone say money. Intel is the poster child of some of the most shit management. I agree. You don't understand how their board of directors are still mostly intact. At a certain point, if Intel keeps going down, guys, at a certain point, they are going to get an activist who comes in. Air is breaking out. Hold on, folks. Do we play Air for a short term? It's up 9.5%. Oh, PM Rehab. How you doing, my friend? Or sorry, PMA Rehab. Is letting their stock tank that bad for their business that they need to make all these bad moves? God. You're asking a good question. They're not letting their stock tank. It's just fucking happening. Intel right now, here's the thing about semiconductors, okay? You basically make your decisions today and you get to reap the rewards 3 years from now. It's extremely long lead times, okay? You design a chip today, literally it's not going to hit stores for well over a year, and let alone building out fabs. All right? That's what I would sit there and say. So, knowing that's the case, Intel has made a few very poor decisions in the last 5+ years. Ironically, a lot of it goes back to their relationship with ASML. Intel had the ability to be the first to do EUV manufacturing. They skipped it. They thought it was too difficult. TSMC told ASML, we will buy every EUV tool you can send us. Despite the fact that when they first started shipping it, there wasn't even a material to cover the masks. Masks in lithography are like extremely expensive. EUV masks are like the most expensive. There was no way to protect them. And if you're asking what they're protecting them from, it's the light. Like the actual light will degrade the mask themselves. So they're paying more for masks. There was no technology, no chemistry available yet. They still went through and did that. That was their gamble. So TSMC had to learn how to manufacture this brand new cutting edge process. Intel didn't even bother. That's what we observed today. Intel made that decision over 5 years ago. They are paying the price still. Because of that, they were never able to master 10 nanometer production. TSMC did. Because of that, Intel had to push off their roadmap. They missed their customer deadlines. When that happened, Apple walked away. Now for the next year, you've got AMD with an absolute technological advantage in the data center. The most important part, Intel had to push back delivery of Sapphire Rapids. Terrible. The only difference between Intel and Boeing is when Boeing fucks up, people die. But literally, there was a lot of parallels there. Sung Maxi, Jesus, if Intel was disabled puppy, you'd still kick it. Whiskey Jack Black, why did they think EUV was too difficult? Because it had never been done before. It had never been done. Like the jump between immersion, I think it was like 156, something like that, 155 nanometer to 13 nanometer is huge. Huge. Like it was legitimately tough. When TSMC was first doing EUV manufacturing, it was incredibly tough. They weren't doing well. Okay? TSMC had very poor yields when they first started. Do you know what TSMC did? They shut the fuck up and worked at it. They took their immediate losses in terms of margin. They worked, they iterated, they got better, they got better, they got better. Boom. They got Apple as a customer. That's what happened. So, and long term, guys, long term, I'm rooting for Intel. Please understand this. Please understand this. I'm very bullish from on semiconductors in general, but Jesus, man. Like, the problem with Intel is not just they fucked up. It's the quality of their competition. They missed out on the use of GPUs in data centers. NVIDIA ate their lunch there. They failed to be able to manufacture and therefore held back their design arm. AMD outdesigned them in CPUs. And then TSMC struggled at first, but managed to actually innovate in terms of manufacturing processes and went first with EUV. So they got trumped by their three biggest opponents. Oh, give me 1 second. That's the story of Intel, my friends. So when you hear a lot of people talking about like Intel being this great value stock, no, it fucking isn't. Not yet. One day, they will be. But right now, if you talk about value stocks, I will straight up tell you, AMD and Qualcomm, to me, are better values right now at their current prices than Intel. Actually, Jordy Bada, I love this statement, by the way. Intel and Boeing comparisons aren't that accurate. Boeing was ran by bean counters that put profits above all. Intel was ran at all times by engineers and still failed miserably to get 10 nanometer and also delayed quite a bit 14 nanometer. Yeah. One of the things that I've heard is Bob Swan was a finance guy, wasn't he? Wasn't Intel ran by a finance guy prior to Pat Gelsinger? Pat Gelsinger's an engineer. But I thought their previous guy, Bob Swan, was a finance guy. Your point on Boeing is 100% correct, though. Yeah, Bob Swan was CFO before CEO. Yeah. Pat Gelsinger is an attempt to unfuck themselves up. See how the spy is doing. Come on, spy. My pleasure for the explanation. This is shit I find fun. So yeah, guys, Intel. The problem they face now is Intel's #1 in PCs, and that's not going well. Intel also has a lot more market share right now than AMD, which means if you see data centers start to go down, Intel's a lot more at risk. Jordy, yes, it was only 2 years after the damage was done. Got it. The prior Brian Krinzenik was an engineer. Got it. Sagano. At least Intel can produce proper software. Since we're talking semis, thoughts on Ampere. Ampere is a RISC-V, which is essentially a competing protocol or architecture from the version that Intel uses and ARM. So x86, RISC-V, ARM. RISC-V is somewhere in the middle. I'm not going to talk too much about the architecture. Basically, it has to do with instruction sets and whether your computer does it sequentially or at the same time. Anyway. But yeah, Ampere is a really interesting. They're taking advantage of essentially a lot of the weakness of data center and Intel. It'll be interesting to see where they go. I don't know too much about them though. B Hood, you having the flu? Oh, I hope you feel better, my friend. Oh, is Ampere ARM? Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I think you're right. Yeah, Ampere is ARM. Yeah, not public yet. ARM in general, ARM in the data center is going to be a big. It's a big macro shift. Carlisle, okay, Carlisle owns them. Smart. Yeah, I like ARM making inroads into the data center. Keep in mind, in the next few years, you're going to see a lot more competition in data center architecture. It'll not just be AMD and Intel. You're going to see a lot more ARM. So when you talk about chips from companies like Marvell, when Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are building their own chips, those are all ARM. Qualcomm's building in data center, that's ARM. Qualcomm's an ARM designer, even though ARM's suing them. Ampere is an example. Yeah, these are all ARM. By the way, if you want to play it, to me, Cadence is one of the better plays. Cadence is the software you need if you're going to be designing chips. It also runs in a different cycle than semiconductors. I'm eating a bit early today. Hmm. Hmm. You need to grow. But yeah, it's interesting. Never heard of them. SoftBank backed Viore takes on Lululemon with global expansion. One of the concerns would be the fact they're SoftBank backed. SoftBank's lost a lot of money. They're a little bit capital light right now. So the question is, like, do they have to push? Are they going to be able to invest in the business properly? I don't know. They're not publicly held, so interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Hmm.
The ones, Jed, that we typically talk about. Let's bring in Jed Dorsheimer from William Blair, and they're not the ones, Jed, that we typically talk about. The big sort of bellwethers in the chip industry. What are you choosing and why?
Hey, Sarah, that's right. So we're actually looking at silicon carbide, which is a compound semiconductor. And so this little material has a niche that makes electric vehicles operate more efficiently. So you hear a lot about, limited copper and lithium, and this semiconductor will allow us to do more with less to allow that bigger trend to unlock.
So you like what's in here? Wolfspeed is one of the makers, right?
So yeah, if you look at the long-term trends here, we like Wolfspeed on semiconductor and Air Test Systems, which is a little equipment company. And we think that those three make up a cohort that will that will benefit from roughly a $2 billion market growing to a $20 billion market over the next 8 years.
Are they less immune to the cyclical worries about this industry, which seem to really hit these stocks every time there's a concern about rising rates, or also the geopolitical issues with the export controls around China?
Actually, they benefit from a lot of that. So when you hear about reshoring and the geopolitical challenges with China and Taiwan, that's prompting the U.S. and the CHIPS Act to look at a reshoring activity. So one of the questions is, if you have to reshore and start from scratch, do you go with a leading edge silicon plant? And for analog semiconductors, we don't think you do. So we think that benefits silicon carbide, and they're kind of in a sweet spot of where we think growth is going that benefits from some of the geopolitical turmoil that we're seeing today.
Interesting call. Thank you for joining us, Jed Dorsheimer.
Thanks for having me.
That's the first time I've heard air mentioned, by the way.
Love to get your assessment of what the bull.
Yesterday, Tommy. Air at 7 should have averaged down. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. It sucks because literally everything that we when we first started looking at air, everything we knew that should make it go up happened. New customers, expanded demand. And you literally have all these other semiconductor companies talking about their investments in silicon carbide. Yeah. Should have gone in a lot heavier. Small caps do definitely move weird. But yeah. That was the lesson. But it's a fantastic company. Oh, such a good company. Shut the SPY. SPYs, well, listen, any day we're up 1.3%. We're not going to complain. What's IBM doing? Anything new with Weijo? No, I haven't heard shit about Weijo recently. Hold on, there was one thing happened to them. Let me pull it up. Weijo's an absolute dead body at this point. Yeah, that was at the end of last month. They got maintained to outperform by Baird. I think they have like a $5 price target. It's like $1 stock now. That fucker dropped very, very brutally. Weijo is the company I don't have any positions in. I'm always going to keep my eye. I'm tempted to just buy a bunch of it. Maybe that's something I should be looking more at, taking more seriously. Weijo is a former SPAC. All right, this is a former SPAC. This is a company with a lot of investment from GM, from Microsoft, and from Palantir. I know. They're trying to solve the ability to transmit self-driving, to basically transmit data from car to car or from car to outside station. Basically, it's almost like a unzip program for like compressing data. Do I have Twitter calls? No, I've sold them all. I do not have Twitter calls. I have Twitter shares. I sold all my calls previously on Twitter. So I've got shares that are up 25%. Sorry, 30%. Wrote the wrong one. God damn, see a burb. Your 401k was 48% Air Commons. Dog. That's impressive. Doesn't Google have a large... I haven't heard about Google having a stake. I know Microsoft does. Milwaukee Blizzard. Anyone playing against home builders? Earnings in 3 weeks. We're slowly building a put position in DHI, but looking into there's a better one. Also, wondering if you're anti-housing bias. I'm like a very anti-housing. The problem is, haven't these stocks been beaten to shit? Actually, no. I mean, yeah, it's down quite significantly. Did you guys catch the housing index data this morning? Terrible. Terrible data. Snapchat. Snapchat sucks. Can we just, I mean, if I had to play a direction on Snapchat, I'd probably do calls because Jesus Christ, the stock's been beaten to shit. I hate this company though. This company does not sit right with me. By the way, channel checks, we spoke about them yesterday from some of the big research houses, were actually quite positive on coverage on the ad sector. The housing data that came out this morning, we'll pull it up. What's the acronym for it? I forget. Here goes. NAHB. Yep, confidence. Okay, look at this chart. Ugh, grotesque. Absolutely grotesque. Okay. The index went from, let me pull up the exact number. Yeah, tumbled to a reading of 38. I think the expectation was 46. It's an index. So anything under 50 is contraction. Basically, the expectation was 46. The actual number was 38. This number was over 70 at its peak this year. Looks like a crypto coin, exactly. This is people's sentiment, home building sentiment right now. Look at it go. Listen, this is what the Fed wants, right? It's a survey of home builders? I believe so. I think it's National Association of Home Builders. Steely's here. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah. Obviously, it goes without saying, very, very bad reading. A lot of people will say, oh my God, look, we're going to get a recession. Not based on this. Any presumed correlation with prior recessions, seeing a dip in recessions, to me, is the idea that there's general economic malaise, which bleeds into this. This is just, housing was way too hot. Raising Keens. I love this question. Yep, National Association of Home Builders, got it. Monthly survey of home builders to rate current sales of single-family homes and sales expectations in the next 6 months and to rate traffic of prospective buyers. Got it. Mackinac points out 7% plus mortgages for the foreseeable future. Yep, that's going to matter. That's absolutely related to why sentiment would be so shitty, right? And Raising Keens, I love the point you make here. Wouldn't the Fed want them building homes, at least all things equal? Yes. This goes down to that whole notion of fiscal versus monetary policy, though, where the problem on the housing side in particular, NIMBY, not in my backyard. All right? There's a lot of obstacles more on the fiscal side, on the zoning side, that prevents a lot more on the housing side. It's it. Minneapolis, St. Paul, that's done like an interesting experiment in regards to opening up housing the ability to build houses. And supposedly they've not had the same rent problems like other places in the nation have had. Forget if it's them or if it's somewhere else. I know somewhere in the upper Midwest. It's the Steely says it was above 80 from last October through February. Oh, so high. So fucking high. And by the way, guys, let's let this be an image of how crazy like COVID time period is, where you get these. One thing I like about this is using an index. This is not using year over year. All right. It's not using year over year. So what matters there is when you have year over year and you have something like this makes the chart go like really big up and down. This is just using an index. This is legitimately just straight up and down. Now imagine if it's going year over year, this whole chart would look fucked up. Garfo, why was the NAHB dumping from 2005 when sales were flying? Good question. It seems it didn't really start its true dump until 2006. I don't know. It's a good question. The interesting thing to me here is the idea that in the .com, sentiment on housing never really went poor. This I find more shocking than, quite frankly, this. Remember, this recession was caused by housing. So the idea you have this bleed out in housing sentiment, and then the recession kind of makes sense. That's what I'd argue. Yeah, let's go back to the earnings. God. I don't really want to play any of them today. If Wall Street Bets is particularly aggressive against Netflix, that's kind of a buy signal. That being said, I don't know if I trust Netflix. I don't know if I do. God, this stock is fucking dead. Garfo, but they were negative 2 to 3 years for the blow up, yeah. Mm-hmm. Housing market is in retreat. Kicking off national. Yeah, fuck off. Will housing pull the U.S. economy into a recession? This was written in 2006. The answer would become yes. Burry infiltrated it. Oh, God. What's the spy doing? Do I need to jump out of my spy calls? Kind of getting a little distrustful of this market right now. So I'm going to sell my spy calls. So I played it actually a little bit bigger. So I'm going to take the $500 in gains. There we go. I have $400 gains. All right, we're good. So I jumped out of my spy calls. Kind of don't trust the market. Raising Keens, you do find all the housing articles from 2005 to 2007 be really fun to read now. I would agree with that, yeah. Some of the same talking points as the past few years, albeit a very different financial situation, yeah. Listen, we're just coming off, it's too hot. It's too fucking hot. It's going to be interesting to look back at some of the automotive articles that were written the last few years, or the last year specifically. I think automotive is the next version of how I think it's going to be less impactful, because here's the honest truth. Okay. What happens if people are unable to pay their cars, they lose their cars, right? They buy other cars. Still a market there. What happens if you lose a house? It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. So that's why, to me, I'm not worried when people talk about, like, oh, the average payment, you know, the average like financing payment or whatnot for a new car is like over $1,000, something like that. I'm like, all right, that bubble will solve itself without being completely catastrophic to the economy. Housing's a bit different. I've never seen people take out additional auto loans to then like pay other shit. Meanwhile, home equity loans are real. Did I sell it at my Kano call? Nope, still holding it. I have December 16th calls. I'm down 30%. It's a small position. I'm tempted to even add more. I'll wait. I may do it tomorrow. Kano, though, I need to do some more reading on tonight. But originally, when CVS was looking at buying them, CVS was not the only one. By the way, CVS's price was going to be like $14 a share. And Kano was trading well under that. So when a company is willing to pay that much, that tells you that given that it's under $5, it's probably undervalued right now. But we'll see. Oh, yeah. CVS won't comment on its report. Yep. Because they're smart. White House, we're going to make a statement tomorrow regarding bringing gas prices down. Oh, from Wedbush, cybersecurity stocks a clear green light into third quarter earnings. Risk reward bullish. Steely hands, that's correct. Auto credit's one of the biggest worries right now. Lack of transportation can be pretty catastrophic, and the U.S. has shit public transport. Yeah, but what I would anticipate happening is if you start seeing a lot of repossessions, you're going to see a lot more used cars flood the market. It's going to push down prices. The people, even who lose their cars, will essentially get new ones at cheaper. The SPR announcement tomorrow with the gas speech. What do you think? Should we be looking very carefully at, say, Valero and MPC? Do we think something's about to happen? Oh, look at this chart. Come on, chartologists. Come on, crayon eaters. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Yep, the talk of crayons made me want some candy. Yeah. 100% true. And Hanslik, I'll get to your question in a second because it's a good one. But yeah, Steely, going back to Valero. Someone bought a lot of puts on Valero for weeklies. 1014 volume. Just under 1500 was open interest. Oh man, Sammy. I don't have a good answer. I believe a lot of it's culture, and the other half is actually going to be history. But yeah, that's a loaded question, Sammy. I'm afraid I'm probably not going to be good enough to answer it. Bulldog, no. Wizards of the Coast is part of Hasbro. We'll talk about that afterward. Consumerism is part of it. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. It depends on which countries you're looking at, but yeah. Yep. So Valero, I mean, seriously, should we be playing puts on Valero? You buy a small lot with Gush. Because here's the thing, if they're talking about oil prices, or rather, sorry, gasoline prices, is there any kind of announcement they can make tomorrow that may specifically address refined products? And could that overnight, like, basically just crush? I mean, isn't that hurting specifically Valero and MPC? Because didn't crack spreads rise up again? Yeah, MPC has a lot of puts being bought as well. There's a lot of puts being bought on both of them. Didn't California start job owning Valero? Yeah, it didn't work. Valero CEO shot back. Yeah, California's stupid in policy. I'll fucking say it. Yeah, I wonder if there is a gamble to basically play puts on Valero on both Valero and MPC. Essentially, that tomorrow's announcement may actually not just be about the SPR, it may specifically be about refined goods. If they're talking about the price of gasoline, it raises a question. A lot expires after this week. Oh yeah. But I'm seeing like on the 3 DTE on MPC. MPC is currently at 107. The $104 put. Someone bought 10,700 of them. The open interest was 10,001. I see no other options activity where people are basically doubling up the open interest. So yeah, dear crayon eaters. All right, MPC and Valero. Is there a play there based on the oil announcement? I wonder. All right, next up, let me go back up. I think some of you guys were already answering it to M. Hanzik's question, which was a good one. M. Hanzik, someone tell you why more SPR releases isn't reckless. I will give you a real quick answer on this one. And I think someone else already kind of pointed out. Yeah, Milwaukee Blizzard said it. The U.S. is a net exporter of oil. We built the Strategic Petroleum Reserve as a result, basically, of at a time where we were all sorts of reliant on other countries shipping. Like, we didn't have the oil production that we have. Now we're a net exporter of energy. So you can make the argument we shouldn't have an SPR, quite frankly, as big as we currently have it. All right. And second of all, is no one going to acknowledge, like, President Biden was getting shit on the political side. And people keep saying, like, oh, this is all for political purposes. No shit. Making people happy is what politicians do. Yeah, that's how it works. It's kind of how it does. All right. The interest of us as a country wanting to vote for our president, so therefore the president makes good things happen. That's literally the underpinning of governance and democracy. That shouldn't be a shock. Like, it should. Like, I'm okay with that. But if we do enter a recession, demand drops, Venezuela oil entering the chat. Yeah, definitely put downward pressure. Yep. Yeah, how would the economic situation played out if the other party won? Yeah, I mean, I assume if you had a bog standard Republican president, so not a Trump, I honestly think you would have seen the same thing happen. What's the point of having a strategic petroleum reserve if you don't use it when oil prices hit essentially records? What's this? Yep, Joe Biden has a big diesel problem. The last time commercial diesel inventories were this low, Harry S. Truman was president. New York harbor spot prices are greater than $200 a barrel, and U.S. diesel refining margins hit a record high. Yeah, Steely, is this what's going to get addressed tomorrow? You reread the Bloomberg scoop from last night about the SPR release, and it says any gasoline and diesel export limits wouldn't be rolled out until after. Would they get announced tomorrow then? Are they in a position to announce it? Because if they're going to announce it tomorrow, honestly, guys, shouldn't we be looking at some puts on either MPC and or Valero? So MPC, VLO, right? So yeah, basically, Emonzik, I think as long as our like strategic petroleum reserves, put it this way, my understanding is we've drained about what 1/3. We're still not coming to like half. Short crack, that's another one. Does refilling the SPR basically raise the price later on? Yes, smooth. Yeah, some of you guys, I think Prometheum had the idea originally of we should be using forward futures contracts to refill the SPR, which I think we're supposedly doing. Emonzik, you're just concerned that we aren't producing oil like we used to. Put it this way, we produce a fuckload more than when the SPR was created. Still hands, here's the announcement. I think I've used my free articles, yeah. Another 10 to 15 million, yeah. Still going after that. I mean, crack spreads keep going up. For those of you who don't know what crack spread is, crack spread, it's the hydrocarbon cracking, okay? So basically the difference between a raw barrel of oil and refined products. Because you have to crack hydrocarbons. These big long chains, you crack them. That's an actual term for it. So they have something called the crack spread, which is the difference basically in profit that you get from a barrel of, say, diesel or gasoline and a barrel of oil itself. Crack spread, yep, sounds, yep. Lonesome Frogface, explain the SPR for Euro, please. Is it a reserve for war times, the military, or just general buffer? I don't think there's an actual definition, by the way. It can be used kind of up to whatever reason. Yep, air is a little engine that could, right up to its resistance point. Yep. Spencer, how you doing, my friend? What are we playing this week? We're looking right now. Is there a play, actually a puts play on refiners right now? That's what we're questioning. So like Valero and MPC. Here's Valero's chart, by the way. Here's MPC. Milk Bar had to change the name of their crack pies over. Yeah, super overhyped. I remember that. So I'm wondering, Spencer, if there's a play on that. Supposedly, President Biden's making an announcement tomorrow involving the SPR. I wonder if there's a second announcement that happens along in conjunction with it. Did we discuss China stopping all LNG exports? I didn't mention it before, but yeah, I saw it. Hold on. For that Bloomberg article, separately, the administration is still weighing limits on exports of fuel to keep more gasoline and diesel inside the U.S. Although no timeline's been set for a decision on that potentially more dramatic step, it wouldn't happen before November's midterm elections. The export control idea, which would be temporary, has sparked division within the administration as top Biden energy advisor Amos Hochstein argues in favor of a new export controls, even as Deputy Energy Secretary David Turk has expressed concerns. I got it. Thig, anyone know why Lockheed Martin's up 10%? Yeah, they reported this morning. They apparently had a really good report. Something like $12 billion new buyback authorization as well. Refiners risky. Product export ban, tail risk post midterms crushes them. Hard to find good angle at this point to mitigate that risk. Yeah, so ChemLife, if we were going to play refiners right now, we'd be looking to play puts. Someone say money. Did Lockheed Martin necessarily do well because of the Russian-Ukraine war? It's connected to it because basically they're going to be signing more orders now. Europe is, as a result of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, Europe is definitely going to be upping their investment in military goods. And these orders are going to come through in the future. Sammy, the U.S. SPR has fallen to 405 million barrels from 593. It's the lowest amount of crude oil in the SPR inventory since June 1984. That's fine. Kinlar, yeah, I did mention the... Hold on. 1028? I didn't see that one. Whoa. Yeah. All right, I'm buying some. Fuck it. Gamble, gamble, my friends. Gamble, gamble. Today's been a good day so far on the gamble, gamble. I'm going to do a little bit of gamble. All right. I'm doing it. I played ExxonMobil puts this morning and it worked out real well. So fuck oil. There, I grabbed MPC October 28th $100 puts. Anyway. But yeah, Kinlar, thanks for pointing that out. For ATM, you wouldn't play refiners either way. I'm not going to play them going into earnings, put it that way. And MPC's earnings is not until, what, 2 weeks? MPC's earnings is November 1st. So I'll be out well before then. Yeah, I think you guys got to remember something, okay? The SPR was created at a time when the U.S. was a net importer of energy, and it was post the OPEC oil embargo to the U.S. We're not in that same situation. Like, we shouldn't have an SPR as big as we've used to have it. Anyway, yeah, back to the LNG to Europe from China, 10%. Yeah. China's been reselling. I mean, the thing about China's apparently been taking orders of LNG, and then since they haven't had to use it, they've been selling it off. They also have a large inventory. China also has a lot of refining capacity, not just for LNG, but for oil and gas. For oil, rather. So the fact that they are blocking the sale, it may actually be bullish for Chinese economy. They're going to finally start like really opening up. But then again, what city just announced lockdowns this morning? Like, yeah, they're back to locking shit down. Even just yesterday, I was like, I'm willing to bet lockdowns will look different. Nope, same. They ain't fucking around. We shouldn't be releasing barrels from the SPR in the low 80s. Political plaything at this point. I don't disagree. The problem is, ChemLife, I think we're basically dumping it from the SPR, specifically because of gasoline prices. And I think gasoline prices, and quite frankly, diesel prices, that's more a function of the crack spread. That probably doesn't even matter. I get the $100 strike on NPCs. So October 28th, $100 puts. Yeah, Kinlar, it's probably smart on FXI. God, that stock crushed me. Why did natural gas get killed? Because I bought in last Friday. But no. Specifically, now there's an issue where EU's full. So now there's a bunch of ships waiting off the coast, and supposedly they're not even going to let them unback it. Yeah. Yeah, Sinopec gas traders making big bonuses. Yep. India's been doing the same thing, by the way. India's bought a lot of Russian oil and sold it off to Europe. What's the bear on MPC? A, look at the chart. B, if there's an announcement tomorrow from Biden regarding SPR, if there's any conversation about any form of like ban on refined products leaving the U.S., export ban, that'll crush them. We'll see. Apple just took a dick. Ooh, good. I'm cheering for Apple to fall. Whoa, what happened? That's volume. What happened to Apple? Whole market? Good thing I got on a SPY. What the fuck just happened? Whoa! Did North Korea test a nuke or something? What? Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll play it both ways. What happened to the market, guys? Logic a game iPhone production cut? That's not true. That wouldn't impact SPY. SPY looks to be hit more than Apple. Rizzo, Apple cuts iPhone 14 Plus production less than 2 weeks after debut. I don't believe that. You had a link? Oh, here it is. Apple cuts iPhone from the information. If that's true, interesting. Yeah, a lot of people posting about it. Interesting. Is that what killed the entire SPY? Huh. Yeah. Apparently they're saying it's the iPhone Pro. I'm not sure I'm going to believe it yet. I mean, who's reporting it? Apple's pretty big on the SPY. All right, here's the information. According to 2 people involved in the company's supply chain. Oh, it's not the... It's the iPhone Plus, not the Pro. Oh, this is probably bullshit. This is probably bullshit, guys. It's the Plus, not the Pro. Yeah, who cares? Go ahead. Keep dropping. Keep dropping. I want this drop. I want it to drop. Keep dropping. Apple reports next week. I'll play Apple calls. Keep going. Keep going. I'm going to wait. I'll probably not buy until after Tesla reports. But keep going. Fucking go to 130. I don't give a shit. I have no position in Apple right now, and I sold my SPY calls. Sorry. Die. Go ahead. I'll play against that one. Raising Keens, they were talking about the Plus being a failure since launch. I think a lot of people like it. The bigger issue right now is the people like the Pro model more. And the Pro model has, I mean, put it this way, okay? Which two companies have already both guided up? Broadcom and TSMC. Those are your giveaways. Those are your giveaways. Do you know why? Because TSMC obviously provides all the processors that Apple uses. So they've already prepaid for for the next, 2 quarters or so. They're fine. Broadcom also provides, I believe, the Wi-Fi chip for all the iPhones. And they've already basically raised guidance and called out really good, really good demand. So yeah. Raising Keens, you're exactly correct. A failure from a market segmentation standpoint, you should say. For a similar price, who chooses the Plus over the Pro? Yeah, that's a question. It's a question. I'd buy the Pro. I want the Pro. But yeah, guys, at least every single year, there is always a report that comes out about Apple, quote, poor demand. And it always comes from an unnamed source inside supply chain. And then Apple reports earnings and it always proves that person wrong. Why? Because Apple is one of the most secretive fucking companies in the world. They do not tell their suppliers shit. The supplier that would know the most is TSMC, and TSMC is famous for not saying shit about their customers. Whiskey Jet Black. A failure? Or is that a marketing psychology trick about the small, medium? Yeah. Sweaty nuts. I've got an iPhone Pro Max. Sure, it makes my dick look small, but it's a hell of a phone. Yep. So yeah, I want to see Apple fall more. I'm telling you right now, though, if there's news, I will once again post the link. All right. Ming-Chi Kuo is the analyst you should give a fuck about. If Ming-Chi Kuo posts, listen to it. This is the analyst that has been proven correct the most. Then it's not just Apple. Apple is so big that if Apple is going to fall like this, it is going to pull down the SPY. Oh, look at it. But is there anything else? Was there other news? Did anyone see? By the way, my MPC puts are up 12%. Did I do something clever? No, I didn't. The whole market's going to fall, then there we go. Whiskey Jack Black, better processor. The Pro models have the 3 nanometer or the 4 nanometer, I believe. But it's a different process node. Terrible Terry Tate, there's some report out that says Apple is cutting back on production of their Plus model. This is essentially the same story that was previously said, where Apple was reducing production of their basic model. I don't buy it. Sultan, more news. Fed's Bostic. Fed can't solve all the problems causing current levels of inflation. There's a way to interpret that dovish, by the way. But I think he's right. They can't. Netflix is starting to run. You sold your calls. I'm so sorry, my friend. Yeah, what happened to ASML? Hey, Jetski, how you doing, my friend? Kind of sounds like that article you linked the other day. Which one? And sorry, what sounds like it? You bought an FD on Apple? Probably not a bad one. Yep. Yeah. Bostic saying they can't solve some factors of inflation. Yeah. And that's okay. I think we all tactically acknowledge that. End result, running at a higher inflationary market. Yeah, definitely. Either way, I mean, like, thank God we had some puts today, because, yeah. ASML's earnings are tomorrow. See, is there any interesting options activity in ASML? Yeah, used car sales fucking died. Loving it. Garfo, are there people who think the Fed can solve 100% inflation factors? They need a milk and a burpee. Keep in mind, there's a lot of people, it's very popular to believe that the Fed caused all the inflation. The Fed is not responsible for stimulus, put it that way. The ASML, any interesting activity? God, I forgot how expensive these fucking options are. Yep, NBC puts are kind of doing well. I don't see a lot of activity in ASML, by the way. Either direction, by the way. Yep, NBC puts are up 18%. There are a lot of ideologues who make money off being dogmatic, much like, and I think you all know this as well, there's a lot of people who make money off being outraged. Like, look at this. Yep, 27% on NBC. Nice. Power Hour spy calls could likely be. I'm tempted to do Apple calls. Yep, Apple from the top rope. Hey, ChemLife. Did I see the NHAB? Yep, we saw it. It's been a very good indicator in the past when NHAB bottoms. I see you mean NAHB, National Association Home Builders. Housing bottoms. The housing bottoms, market bottoms. We aren't at the bottom yet in that framework. I will disagree with that. Here's the chart we were looking at. Oh, let me pull it up. I mean, if you look very carefully at it, first of all, the idea that in the pandemic it happened, to me, it's more coincidental. Not even coincidental, it's like covariance. They happen based on the same thing. Because notice you didn't have a recession here, didn't have a recession here. In fact, I'll argue this huge drop is because what caused this recession was the entire meltdown of the housing sector. Yeah, Jetski, the S&P had its fourth worst recorded year in history. I know. I find that insulting. Yep. Not a global pandemic. Not the shutdown of the entire financial, like, global credit system. No. A little bit of inflation and bad vibes. That's where we are. If you're in Europe, though, it's a different ballgame. Like, I get it. Like, Europe has some severe headwinds, shall we say. Come on, Apple. Keep falling, Apple. Keep falling, Apple. Get it? Falling apples. Anyway, guys, I'll once again post the Twitter chart. All right. Pay attention to this account. I don't know, Cedar. I'm waiting. ChemLife, it's not just bad vibes when home buyers are, like, literally on strike. That's the big multiplier on the economy. Yeah, shocker. But think about it. Why is that the case? Because interest rates are so high. Because we've asked the Fed to do it. There's nothing new. Hey, 64 pillars. Thank you for the sub. Been busy these couple of days. How far down should we buy Intel puts? Fuck Intel, man. I don't know. At some point, Intel's going to bottom. I just don't know what that point is. And I anticipate their next earnings is going to be dog shit as well. Nothing is saving this company right now. Nothing. Best iPhone was the first one. I like the size of like my current. Like I don't like the big ones. ChemLife, I love that argument. Long Intel when they cut the divvy. Honestly, I would do the same thing. Steely hands. Oh yeah, I agree with that. It's not even just this, that interest rates are so high. It's that speed, the pace. I agree. Raising Keens. On strike is a great marketing spin on too broke to afford the payments with high rates. Yeah. Keep in mind, though, we just had the financials report. Consumer balance sheets are still fucking healthy. We need to wait for that to burn off, by the way. Oh, God. Spacey Jaw, how you doing, my friend? Do I have any insights on smaller cloud computing companies? No, I don't. And I wish I did. I wish I did. Peak Apple was when Jobs pulled out the iPod Nano from his jeans. God, I remember that. Bullshit, though. I will fight you on that one. Peak Apple was when they sent a SWAT team into a journalist's house to get back that iPhone they left in a San Francisco bar. You know what I'm talking about, Ghost. Yeah, that's peak Apple. When Steve Jobs is sending the SWAT team after you, that's peak Apple. Sammy, can interest rates and stock market both fall simultaneously? Oh, yeah. ChemLife, tell them why. It's a timing issue. That's my argument. All right, I'm buying Apple calls right now. I'm playing a bounce. Very small, just a daily bounce. I'm not playing for earnings yet. I'm going to wait till after Tesla reports. So I have weekly $145 calls. Let's go. ChemLife is correct. Bottoms don't happen, usually, until post-rate cuts due to impact lags. That's correct. That's correct. Raising Keens, you saw only 20% of excess pandemic savings have been spent, although you bet a lot of that went into the market. A good portion definitely went into the market, yeah. So yeah, ChemLife is to me correct. Bottoms don't happen until post rates cut to impact lag. So yeah, so then basically at a certain point you start, put it this way, it just has to do with timing. My expectation is when you start seeing rates cut, keep in mind, what usually cuts rates is economics slowing down. Look at Apple go now. I mean, people realize these reports are bullshit. The fuck happened? What the fuck is this? Jetski, explain yourself. What the fuck is this chart? By the way, it's 22 million shares. It shouldn't look like this. The fuck? Oh, it's 83 million in market cap. Oh, God. Tiny ass company. This pump, it's going. It can be real and a pump and dump, by the way. Ugh. An oil and gas company that doesn't make money. Minecraft looking ass chart. Yeah, it's like 15 cents. I got it. Okay. Looks pumpy and dumpy. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a tiny fucking company. It's a they're not making money. Looks very digital. That's the way to put it. Yeah, that's a bullshit stock. Good for them, though. They seem to be going up. They merged with someone last year and are still shit. Oh. God. Can we take a... Before we get ready for our poll. In fact, let me go grab my beer. Hold on. Oh, I'll wait. We're going to have to come out with our... our poll momentarily. Jetski, Joe Biden has come out and said tomorrow they're going to announce a new approach to addressing the oil crisis. You think they announce a drilling arrangement? CEI sitting on a lot of reserves? I don't know. Here's my concern. If you're an energy company, especially a smaller one with a lot of reserves, why have you not gotten bought out yet by the big players? Tomorrow we're supposed to hear an SPR announcement. By the way, export ban we're not sure of. That's why we're playing puts just in case, because it'd be tremendous upside. But even that would be a small chance. Refining is a bottleneck, yeah. If CEI squeeze is good for them, I'm not sure tomorrow there's going to be an announcement from the Biden administration about more drilling. And by the way, I think we should do more exploration, more production. I'm perfectly okay with that. I just think we should do more pipelines first. All right, folks. It's time. Let's check what our pivot point is. Okay, on the SPY. We gonna do 369? That's our closest point. We're gonna do 369. All right, folks. 369. It's gonna be the number. For those of you who don't know, this is where you get to put your channel points on the line. It's a lot cheaper than real money until we keep deflating our currency away. All right, 369. You got 2 minutes to get your votes in. Go! Get your votes in. Get your votes in. Get your votes in. You want a small phone with the S22 Ultra cameras. I just want the return of the thumbprint, the fingerprint. Like, give me a pro model that lets me use my fingerprint to open up. $369, my friend. $369 is the target. You give me your fingerprint. That'd be a Pixel phone. Shut the fuck up. You're not wrong. Just shut up. Come to Samsung, Jay. We have fingerprint scanners faster than you in bed. No, I actually legit like iPhones. I like iPhones. I used to be a big Android fanboy. Then Apple got me. Samsung does make nice OLED screens. Absolutely. By the way, when Samsung reported, everyone talked about their shitty numbers. Not nearly enough talked about the guidance, particularly about the fact that they pointed out on cell phones, on mobile phones, they still saw a lot of strength at their high-end phones. They saw everything below it was weak. Yep. You have an S22 and love it? Thank you for shopping Qualcomm, my friend. Brian Boy, first time chat. Guys, just trade SPY. Thank you for your first time chat and trying to educate people here. I think we all appreciate it. Comes across real well. You like everything about Android more than the SoC and software support? Fair enough. I like the natural points of integration between all the different like platforms. We figured as much, Brian Boy. Yeah. New to Twitch, not trading. That's what we thought. Yeah, that's fine. Samsung works great with Windows 11. Damn. Yeah, I used to be a big Android fan, and then I got into Apple, and I'll be honest, I like Apple. Whoa, Spy just took a dick. Look at that. The sour hours are in control at the moment. It's interesting because, I mean, earnings story so far has not been poor. But there has been differentiation, which we like to see. You have the iPad and never use it? Oh, I love my iPad. I'm always on my iPad. One thing I particularly like in regards to the Apple products. So, like, one of my favorite Apple products is actually Apple TV. Just basically the speed at which you can throw your screen from like an iPhone or an iPad onto the screen. I love. Yeah, no one should be shocked in this channel the idea that we talk about like fundamentals. No one should be surprised. It's kind of what we do. Google TV has the same functionality. Yep. NVIDIA Shield is your favorite? Interesting. For my streaming, for my stream, I use NVIDIA Broadcast, and I fucking love it. It's a great program with a Logitech remote. By the way, last night when I was going to get the PowerLink adapter, the Powerline adapter, I walked through all the GPUs. They're all on sale. I was at Micro Center. They had them, and they were all on sale. Me laptop or PC? I am on a PC. Stream from a PC, and I trade off an iPad. It's my combo. Ah. If there's any interesting news. I'm hearing a lot of people talking shit about Airbnb. I kind of like it. Oil's getting burned. You hate to see it. Yeah, I hate to see it. Isn't that the point behind oil, though? Burning it? Man, I'm still telling you. Not trusting that report. Oh, what's this? Goldman Sachs on Match, Tinder, and Bumble. Downloads. Whoa. Tinder's down. Bumble up. Oh. Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting now. Guys, paired trade, puts on Match, calls on Bumble. Apparently downloads is good. Sammy, this article is so cool. White House is pushing ahead research to cool the earth by reflecting back sunlight. Talk about stratospheric aerosol injection. No need to give loads of money to irresponsible or corrupt nations. Yeah. It's an interesting idea. Geoengineering is an interesting topic. I'll tell you right now, I would love to flood that, what's it called? The Quatra Depression inside Sahara Desert. There's a natural area that seems to be very, very low. If you just create a little canal from the Mediterranean, it'll fill that fucker up with water. And it could actually change a lot of the local environment in the Sahara, basically turn it from a desert into something else. Will also help address rising sea levels. Whiskey Jack Black. We got to be careful. You see the award-winning documentary Geostorm, right? God, that movie was dog shit. I wanted to like it. You'll allow the cube errors and oppression if we get some cool technology in the aftermath. Sounds about right. Yeah, but I wonder if this report here, if the play is long Bumble, short Twitter, or short, match. Remember, Bumble has Hinge, and there's the expression going around now. If it's not Hinge, it's cringe. Geostorm was awesome. Was it? Was it? I love disaster movies, okay? So let's be clear. Even if it's bad, it's still pretty cool, right? Hasn't Bumble rallied after last ER? Yeah, it did. Bumble went fucking mooning. Because I remember that because I was not in it. You're more afraid of Sharknadoes? Smart man. Smart man. Moonfall was quite... I've heard Moonfall is terrible. I've heard Moonfall is so bad. Rank my disaster movies? Oh, man. My favorite's Contagion, which is not a... that's the coolest movie, period. Earth can cool 5 degrees in a week. Huh. Day After Tomorrow and 2012 are the best. I do not disagree. I still think... yeah, Day After Tomorrow was actually pretty good. Again, if you're counting a virus as a disaster movie, then yes, sorry, Contagion. No, Outbreak was not nearly as good as Contagion. Contagion was so good. Jetski, what gets you about dating apps, isn't their goal to essentially to formulate relationships, which directly counterintuitive to user-based retention? Yes. On the other hand, they have demographics on their side. Because if you have success on one of their apps and go back, how long is the average relationship? X amount of time, which means when people come back into the world of singles, they tend to choose the one they've already previously used. Rad, I like this. I Am Legend was good with an ending that's close to the book. Yep. Twister's great. Twister's great. 27 Days Later is really good. Yeah, Raising Cane's. You remember getting hardcore anxiety after watching Contagion the first time, then 5 years later, the entire fucking movie came true? Please. Do you know what was unrealistic about Contagion? The part of it that was the most unrealistic turned out to be that everyone would accept a vaccine. That's our planet. Terrible Terry Tate says, I Am Legend would have been much better with practical zombies instead of CGI. No disagreements here, my friend. Yep, like even down to the conspiracy theorists peddling bullshit. Remember, Contagion is based on a real, actual virus that exists. It's called Nipah. And the reason I mention that is because Moderna is already trying to build vaccines against Nipah. Because Nipah is from like a global perspective, Nipah is one of the most terrifying viruses like scientists track. We're getting kind of a flattish hour. The CFRA maintains hold opinion on shares of Intel. Nothing too interesting on it. Yep. That report on Apple, I'm sorry, that just seems kind of like we know. Ugh. They're punishing Apple for the same shit. Citron at it again. Citron. This wasn't Citron. No. Honestly, I'd love to see, like, is anybody seeing any unusual options activity on ASML? Because they report tomorrow morning, and this is an interesting one, because I think they've been overly punished. I mean, you're talking about close to a 20% decrease in the last 10 days. For a company that had $30 billion in bookings, meaning revenue they have not received yet, if they couldn't sell shit into China, which they can, remember this, guys. People talk about their orders to Chinese businesses or into China. All right. How many fabs in China belong to Micron, SK Hynix, Samsung, TSMC, Intel, Global Foundries? I think actually the answer is 0. UMC, which has a few. All of these companies have waivers. They can ship goods there. They weren't shipping EUV tools there anyway. That's the problem with Jetpack. Do you trust the CEO to convince anyone that China's a non-issue? That's the problem. I would feel so much better about this if there was like options activity, like someone pretending like they know. But no. Don't think any rational thought went selling on ASML. To be fair, though, in the last, what, like 8-9 days, they're down close to 20%. They've outpaced most things going down, which makes sense if you say, all right, we knew there was going to be restrictions on Chinese or on China equipment. Like, it feels like there was some wisdom. Is TSMC positively affected by China news? It's not. They're not hurt. They should actually be fairly indifferent to it. Hey, Q, how you doing? Qualcomm and AMD are your largest positions. You just read about the Chinese chip embargo. Should you be worried? And I don't know about decreasing your positions. Qualcomm should be absolutely not impacted. AMD only has a tiny impact, which is the previous round of restrictions prevents them from selling their absolute most premium AI chip to specific Chinese entities, those connected to the military and government. But they shouldn't matter. AMD is like one of the more de-risked semiconductor stocks. Behood, I bought some calls. Raising Keats. Trade algo. If Europor, sell. Else infinite bid. Yeah, I would feel a lot better about ASML if I saw options activity that made it sound like someone smarter than me knew something. I'm not even seeing big puts. That's the thing that's interesting here. I mean, does anybody have access to anything going on with ASML? France and Riding, name a better pair. Ooh, spicy. $36 million in Q puts before 10 minutes before the Apple news. Shocking. Shocking. Let's pretend like we're surprised. God, these spreads suck ass. Oh my god. ASML is the hardest one to play fucking options on. Also, they're all expensive as fuck. Remember, it's not insider trading. If someone makes up a story, they're not an insider. It's market manipulation instead. 64 Pillars. Thoughts on Tesla puts after earnings? I fucking love it. I love it. I already have some Tesla puts because I was afraid they'd get front ran, but I have November puts, so I've got plenty of time. I think Elon has to sell a lot, and everyone knows he has to sell. Stump Burrito, please do. I'd be very grateful, my friend. Honestly, I think ASML taking 20% down in the less than the last 2 weeks, I think is so overdone. And not only that, their CEO is known for pushing back. He may talk some shit. What if it's true, but a complete non-issue that the market overreacts to? It happens. I don't even have an implied move on ASML. So ASML CEOs like LG, kind of. All right, so the big activities, let me open it up for you guys to see on ASML. Thank you, Stump Burrito, for this. So the $400 puts, people selling the $400 calls, selling the $430 puts, selling the $310 calls, interesting, buying the 360 puts, and buying the 340 calls. Interesting. Thank you for that. Look at the dates on these. They're all 2023s. Someone buying the $400 puts. That's a vertical spread. Which one? Give me liquidity. With a buy put, sell put. $310K, yeah. Yeah, someone got a 3D TE on these ones. But yeah, I mean, checking the prices, these are all fucking ridiculous. The best date's going to be the November 18th, it's basically 31 days out. I'm not going to buy because it's expensive. But if I was, I would buy the $410 call on November 18th. You see a synthetic short and a short straddle? Got it. So I'm not playing it, but man, if I was. Not a financial recommendation, no. I think they've been overly punished. Yep, November 18th, $410 call. It's not cheap. Look at Apple. This report's bullshit. Sorry, guys. I don't believe it. Not until Ming Kuo talks about it. We've already heard Apple has supposedly cut back on production on the basic models and instead ordered more from the iPhone Pros. And if this is coming from some leak in the supply chain, cool. Probably someone who is supplying components for the normal model and not the Pro model. Apple is the most secretive supply chain, so because if Tim Cook, who by the way formerly led supply chain, finds out, yeah, the iPhone 14 Plus is a basic model. It's not the Pro. So yeah, I think this is a fuckboy move. Yeah, Tim Apple, like, he led supply chain. If you are a supplier for Apple and you leak shit to the press, you lose everything. They walk away from you. I know you say this is old news, and you're right, Frugal, and yet look what happened to Apple when that report came out. Everyone just dumped it. Like, there is no critical thinking. There is no critical thinking, which is good. That's why I bought calls. By the way, guys, Twitter is fucking. Twitter is now close to 52. Look at them. And this is on the report, by the way. Hey, Raider Blue, welcome back, my friend. I hope you're feeling better. Yeah, this is on the report that Twitter employee stock accounts are basically locked down, which happens before a move like this. So the assumption is Elon's going to be buying. Raising Keen seems more like shit liquidity than the lack of critical thinking. I'm going to blame critical thinking. I'm going to blame the critical thinking on this. You're probably right. Not the Kanye Elon joint venture. Oh, God. I'm trying to avoid that one. By the way, in case anyone has just joined, say, in the most recent, I want to point something out. Knock on woods. No disconnections today. I'm actually going to get advertising revenue for the first time in like 2 weeks. I checked it yesterday. 0. Let's go, Comcast. Just a Dree and your November 45s are going to be printing. Well played, my friend. I still have my shares, which are doing well. Shares are up over 30%. And as far as I'm concerned, I got about $2.20 a share still coming my way. If everyone's a sub, you'll get no ad revenue. That's not true. I get ad revenue anyway. Speaking of, I will be right back. I am going to grab my beer. All right, we're back. Let's see how things are going. Click the SPY. I know Apple's doing well. Okay, we're above the pivot point. I want to see if we can bounce back up, because that Apple news took us down pretty big. Jay is from a time drinking beer was safer than water. I actually have a story about that. when I was in China, literally I went on vacation to a place called Hainan Island in the south. At the time, literally there was a little like store by the beach we used to go to get like our drinks. Beer was cheaper than water. Yeah. It's Chinese beer. It's very low alcohol. It was very close to water. Like, put it this way. I mean, you'd get full before you'd get drunk. But yeah. You had the Hainanese chicken? Yep, I had it before. Jay saw the first wine being made in Italy. Fuck you. Look, he was trying to walk away from me. You're surprised I don't drink mead? Shut up. Hershey, they're making fun of me. Yeah. See? You can see right there? Yeah. Yeah, it's Cedaw, dude. He's being an asshole. Yeah. Hershey thinks you're being an asshole. You thought you said Hainan Island? Hershey's got a cartoonist face. Yes, he does. Yes, this is the culprit of previous internet issues. For those of you who don't know the story, one time I was streaming a while back. This is a different house. And we had our internet equipment behind this cabinet. And Hershey decided to climb back there, and he got stuck and started thrashing around and basically unplugged the router. Hershey don't take shit. No, he don't. How you doing, my friend? Yes. Yes. Apple is now flying. It's up 28%. What kind of dog is Hershey? Hershey is a Shih Tzu. Whoa, the SPY just moved up. And now my Apple's at 30%. Boss ass bitch. Yep, Hershey is sweet. Yeah, Hershey. Hershey, they be some bottom bitches. They talking shit. They don't respect you. Put you down. Give you this little pet and scratch. Scratch your butt. Yes, you like that? All right, now fuck off. You've been gone pretty long. He actually needs to. He's not too scruffy right now. He was scruffier, but let's see. Apple. Look at that. I'm glad to see it bounce back so quickly. Yep, fade that. That's the rule, guys. Sometimes reports come out. You want to believe it. You do. But then you remember you've already read that report. Ooh, Apple moved production away from their base models than their Pro models. Yep, fade that fucker. SPY 480 out of the question, end of year out of the question. It should be out of the question, but would anything surprise us this year? Steely, I don't know if it's people dismissing bad news or if it's people acknowledging it's not real. It's not real. I have the Tesla November 18th $150 puts. They are currently down 28%. Lawbad, the flow on Ally is so bad. Bad as in what? Define bad. Bad as in like everyone's buying calls or everyone's buying puts? Whoa. Looks like everyone's buying puts. So bearish. Is that a good thing or not? Yeah, you agree, but the market sought to dismiss it as not real as a constructive sign. Yeah, I agree with that, Steely. Raising gains. SPY 480 end of the year out of the question because it's going to hit it by the end of the week. Oh, Callie Otter, sentiment doesn't seem to match reality. Agreed. Agreed. There are so many people who keep pushing the narrative of a weak consumer. Why? First of all, for the logical reason that they are seeing reports of consumers getting weaker. Consumers are spending more on credit cards. Consumers are spending through some of their pandemic savings. Yes. But it's the difference between acknowledging, like, you know, a weakening versus a weak, because compared to pre-COVID, we are still so much stronger. Hold on for 1 second, guys. All right, guys, sorry, back. I had to have a discussion with Hershey. Am I holding my Tesla position through earnings? Yes, probably, unless they start spiking tomorrow. But yeah. Do I think AMD will release some news in the data center segment during earnings? Absolutely, yeah. I anticipate AMD will do strong. Will actually do pretty strong in earnings. The problem is the PC market. It's going to be shit. CM Bird, Twitter over 52. Well played. The alert you had to sell your calls was triggered, and fortunately those calls are gone. Hey, you made money, right? Isn't that what matters? Right? Isn't that what matters? Spencer, is it time to buy biotech and hold? I love that question. I don't know the answer. 52 was rejected. Oh boy. You just have to wait then. Your Twitter share is going to get called away. Did you make money? If you did, good. Check the SPY. Come on, SPY. Go back up. This dump was bullshit. So someone's called out the bearish positioning for Ally. Did anything change on ASML? Webmaster, you bet we gap up again tomorrow? Yeah, it's a concern of mine. $10K volume on October 21st, Ally 28p. 6K on the $27 P. Yep. I have what, the $28 P? Yeah. No, I have the $26 puts. Do you think the market makers sold Twitter $60 calls to the VTards? Yeah, that's a good question. I'm probably not going to hold Apple overnight. I'm probably going to take my my good. Yeah, the CFO quit a day before earnings. It can't be good. It's like, listen, John, we need you to be on this phone call. You know what? Fuck you guys. I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with that shit. Angry ass investors. I assume the news is going to be all about them having to increase their basically the money they're holding out for future bad loans when they talk about automobiles. That's what I assume. That's why I'm playing against them. It's all about autos. Raw dog it overnight. Nope. I am gambling on MPC puts. They're perfectly flat right now. 0. My Ally puts are currently down 4%. I'm going to hold those, and I am going to sell my Apple calls before the end of the day. I love Apple so much. No, I don't. I actually don't. The problem is everybody hates Apple, and I think everybody's fucking wrong. Like, I want to expose that component of it. That's why I care about Apple. Or they asked him to cook the numbers and lie, and he said, go fuck yourself. Oh, I'd love that to be true. He does this big press conference. Hey, some piece of shit. Allies tomorrow morning. Tonight for earnings, we'll stick around, obviously. We're going to catch Netflix. JB Hunt is also up. JBHT. What's the options activity on that one looking like? Got downgraded. Interactive Brokers. Yep. I expect a. How does Interactive Brokers fail if Schwab has a record quarter? Because aren't they both essentially brokerages? Maddox, yeah, Matten is up on a miss. Any Netflix earnings predictions? Oh man, no fucking clue. I am staying away from that one. Wall Street Bets is bearish. That's usually a bad sign. Okay, for them. Always for them. Netflix could have a positive catalyst when they release subscriber numbers, particularly around like any details around their pursuit of high advertising dollars when they were releasing their the bids. So I think that's what will potentially move the stock. I'm not going to touch it though. I don't like the streaming area right now. Did I see Wedbush downgraded Carvana to 15? Yes. Good. Somatics up on a miss. Containers bottom. At some point, they're still making money. I don't know.